Hello, and welcome to everybody. Welcome to everybody in the audience who has joined in. My name is Brandon Kessler. I'm not there on the video screen. I'm here in New York. I am CEO and founder of Challenge Post. We power competitions for software and for open government competitions, and we are incredibly honored and pleased to be powering and hosting the MintChip Challenge for the Royal Canadian Mint. What that means is that the competition itself is hosted on Challenge Post, and we also help manage the competition. It's just going to be an extremely short introduction here from me, and we're very pleased to be hearing from a number of people today, including Mr. Ian Bennett, who is the President and CEO of the Royal Canadian Mint. After that, you'll hear from Marc Brulé, who is the CFO of the Royal Canadian Mint. And then you'll hear from the MintChip Research and Development team. They'll be doing a presentation about MintChip itself. I'd like to assure everybody that we will be posting a recording of this webinar and a French translation in the near future. But before we begin, I'd like to ask if there are any French speakers in our audience who would prefer to have the webinar translated in real time as well. If you would like this, please respond in your chat window, and we'll take a few seconds here to look for any responses in the chat window. Okay, so we haven't seen any, and if any pop up, we'll deal with it as is. But again, to let people know afterwards on the competition website, there will be a recording and a translation there. Last, I would like to say, if anybody has questions, please feel free to ask them in advance throughout this webinar in the Q&A section of the WebEx Event Center, and that is on the bottom right of your windows. And so you can ask your questions in the Q&A chat box, and then afterwards in the Q&A we will deal with them in the order that they have been asked. Again, thank you very much, and with that, I'd like to give you Mr. Ian Bennett.
Thank you very much, Brandon. First of all, I'd like to thank all of you for joining us today for this webinar and being part of the MintChip Developer Challenge. We've been, frankly, very pleased with the response we've had from the developer community to date. As you know, there were 500 developer kits available for this challenge, but what you might not know is that all 500 of those kits were snapped up within the first 4 days. We're now getting close to the end of the submission stage of the challenge, after which our team of judges will review the ideas and applications you have submitted with a view to selecting the winners in each of the 4 main categories. We'll also be giving members of the public a chance to vote for the Popular Choice Award. As President and CEO of the Royal Canadian Mint, or as I'm officially known, the Master of the Mint, I'm very proud of our long history of innovation and technological advancement. We are recognized as a global leader in the art and the science of minting coins, and our expertise and advice are sought by mints around the world. It's all part of our overarching vision, which is just 8 words long, and it's to be the best mint in the world. We know we can't achieve that vision without constantly adapting to what's going on in the world around us. We've been the trusted and respected custodian of Canadian coinage for more than 100 years. Since 1999, we've been monitoring trends in electronic payments to analyze any potential impact on coinage trends. More recently, we've dedicated part of our R&D funds to improving the efficiency of Canada's coinage. It's that research that has led to MintChip, something we see as the evolution of physical money with the added benefits of being electronic. We launched the MintChip Developer Challenge in order to tap into the creativity and the ingenuity of developers like you. We see the challenge as a way to test the robustness and applicability of the technology and to guide its further development and testing by the marketplace. I'm really looking forward to seeing what you've come up with. We believe the MintChip has huge potential to play a significant role in the digital economy, both here in Canada and potentially around the world. Your ideas and applications will be a big part of what comes next, which is turning that potential into a reality. I want to wish you all the best in the challenge and to thank you once again for taking part in it. And I'll turn now over to Mark.
Thank you, Ian, and good afternoon, everyone. It's really a pleasure for me to be here. And I'd like to echo what Ian has just said about our appreciation to all of you for being here today, for being part of the MintChip Developer Challenge. What you're doing is a critical part to our ongoing research and development of MintChip, and the ideas and applications you are submitting will be invaluable in the future evolution and refinement of the technology. We're very excited about the potential for MintChip. There has been significant growth in the electronic payment landscape in the past 5 years, but there is still no cost-effective online electronic solution that can accommodate and protect privacy, all with the familiar properties and characteristics of cash. It's our belief that MintChip could be the digital equivalent of coins Canadians use every day to conduct financial transactions with retailers, both online, in bricks and mortar stores, and with each other. The timing of the MintChip project and the challenge couldn't be better. For more and more people are carrying out transactions electronically, whether online, at point-of-sale locations, and, increasingly, through their mobile devices. Indeed, this could be the breakthrough for mobile commerce after many years of unfulfilled potential. A few months ago, a government task force reviewing the payment system in Canada issued its final report, which left no doubt that Canada needs a modern digital payment system in order to maintain our standard of living and our international competitiveness. Canadians are early adopters of mobile technology, and we're among the world's heaviest users of the internet and online banking and shopping. What we need now is a digital payment system for low-value transactions that we can trust and be cost-effective. That's where you come in. We've already learned a lot during the challenge from the many technical questions you've raised. We've answered them all as best we could, but I know some of you still have some questions. In a few moments, our R&D team will address some of the points that have arisen since the challenge began, and we'll all be able to answer other questions you might have during this webinar. Our goal today is to help you get the information you need to finalize your submissions so you can meet the month-end deadline. Then, our judges will spend the month of August reviewing the entries and picking the winners in the 4 main categories, while the general public will have a chance to vote on the Popular Choice Award winner. As you know, we have some great prizing for the challenge, and we are looking forward to presenting those prizes once the winners have been announced. So, good luck to you all, and thank you again for helping us develop and refine MintChip. And now, it's my pleasure to turn it over to Greg Miller from our development team to go over some of the technical things. Over to you, Greg.
Thanks, Mark. Hi, everybody. Kind of to echo what's been said 3 times, thanks so much to everyone for your participation. It's really been kind of overwhelming. We didn't really respect this kind of response, and your time is super valuable, and we appreciate you sharing it with us. So the technology team and myself have put together just a few slides summarizing the challenge from our perspective. During this time, I guess we're going to flip off the video and flip to the slide deck, and then after which we'll open it up to the Q&A session, kind of the meat and potatoes of this webinar. So can we bring up the slides? Okay, so the team and I have put together just a few slides kind of summarizing our objectives and our observations from the challenge thus far. So why are we doing this challenge? Some of the reasons are, or the primary reasons are, to explore the applicability of digital currency in the current and emerging markets. Additionally, to engage developers who are shaping this new emerging markets and shaping this new digital economy. We'd also like to validate our technical proposition. We have some ideas, but, does it work? In addition to that, evaluate the usability of our API within various applications and platforms, as well as identify any areas of missing functionality, which you've all been pretty good at helping us out. So who signed up? Our registrants are about 75% individuals and 25% organizations. So 385 of you are just kind of working on your own. 35 of those look like they're students. And about a third of you come from the United States, so way to represent. So what are we getting from this challenge? Well, our primary goal was to hear what you guys had to say. We really think that there isn't a digital market if developers don't adopt the technology. So what are we hearing? Well, we're hearing loud and clear, more platforms. To our pleasant surprise, we found that the interest in several platforms beyond what we initially intended to support. And fortunately for our remote API, we were able to afford these developers an avenue to compete in our challenge. Also, we responded by enhancing our local Android MintChip API to support the newly released ice cream sandwich. And in addition to that, we recently came out with support for Windows 8, which is in release preview right now, I believe, and that is supported on desktop-type applications. Chris, can you advance this one? Okay, so did you know, here's some things that we've some feedback that we've gotten back throughout the challenge that we're want to share with you in case maybe all of you aren't aware of it. We have some JavaScript samples. The Windows plugin installer installs a sample HTML page, which you can find in your roaming profile. This is just kind of a shell of how, kind of like the samples for Android and BlackBerry, gives you some kind of indication of how the local MintChip might be engaged through JavaScript. In addition to that, we have an over-the-air BlackBerry and Android installer, which you can find on the Downloads page under the pre-compiled browser demo section. And more recently, we've developed a couple of PHP samples. The response from Linux folks has been heard loud and clear, and we're doing our best to help you out however we can. We've made some updates to the Android and the BlackBerry API, which can also be found in the Downloads page under the Developer Kit section. And most recently, we've developed a dual API sample, which is kind of a sample that allows you to kind of flip between local and remote MintChip for Android and BlackBerry. And just ask us for that, and we'll be happy to send that your way. So I guess the short of it is that, we're here to help you guys. We want to empower you. If there's anything at all that's kind of in your way, don't be shy. Anyone that's contacted MintChip support, I think, would agree that we try to be as responsive as possible. And we'll do whatever we can. So please don't be shy to contact us. So I'd like to finish by opening up to the Q&A section. So Brandon,
wonderful.
And for us?
Yes, thanks very much to the MintChip team, and we've been getting some questions that have come through, so we'll now begin the Q&A portion. Again, please use your Q&A window to send questions and direct your questions to the host and panelist option instead of to individual panelists. So we will go in the order that we have received them, and we'll begin now. So, are there plans for an iOS SDK, an iOS software development kit?
And Brandon, it's Mark, and I'll take that first question. And right now, we are in the process of this challenge. We put out as many platforms as we could and SDKs that we felt would service the market as best we could at this point in time. We're going to evaluate through the results of this and the submissions in the developer challenge, and we'll look to see what might be possible after that.
Okay, the next question, somebody wants to know approximately how many people are watching this webinar right now. It's approximately 50. And the next question, I think I can take this one here. In terms of submission evaluations and public voting, how do you propose that people who have developed an app for iOS will get to review the application, or how, I think they mean how the review will work? Will you provide a mechanism for people to get MintChip ID, at least hosted accounts? So for the purpose of the competition, when you registered for the initial 500, you were sent an email afterward with MintChip IDs. So you should have received those IDs, and if you didn't and you were part of that initial 500, you should email us at support@challengepost or post anywhere to some of the emails that you've seen on the screen. In terms of how the judges and the evaluation will work for an iOS app, well, if you've developed an iOS app and it has not yet been approved by the App Store, meaning that it's not yet public, you can send it to us using TestFlight, or you can also just send us your UDID. Either way, we'll need the UDID, so you would enter our email address and your UDID to share a build with us for testing. Our TestFlight account email is marnie@challengepost.com. I believe all of this is in the FAQs, including our UDIDs. So that's how we would be able to test them at the beginning and make sure that they kind of get through the process and that judging can be completed. As for the Popular Choice Award, which is public voting, obviously not every member of the public is going to be able to sign up a test flight, so they will watch your videos, which means that your videos are important. So make sure that your videos really show the app. People often leave this to the last second and they put up a video that doesn't work. Videos are important, so make sure that your video describes the functionality of the app according to the official rules, and that's what generally the public will use along with your text descriptions for any app, whether it's iOS or any other app. Moving on to the next question, for the MintChip team, can you describe the mechanics of how funds will get loaded on a MintChip from a bank account and how funds can be withdrawn to a bank account?
Brandon, it's Mark, and I'll take that question. I guess what I'd like to do is, first of all, remind all the listeners and viewers that this is an R&D project for the Mint right now. And right now, we envision an ecosystem where there would be a minter, but there would also be private sector involvement in delivering this product to the market. And at this point in time, we would see there being value loaded onto the MintChip, whether remotely or within a physical MintChip, as an example, on a micro SD. But at this point in time, we really don't have the details around that figured out, and that'll be something that will be needed to be evaluated at a future date.
Okay. The next question is, within what time frame will MintChip be brought to market? And I would imagine it's a similar answer than before, but I'll give you an opportunity to provide any color that you'd like.
Yes, and thank you, Brandon. It's Mark again. Really, again, it is a similar answer to the previous couple, I guess. We're right now again in the R&D. We're asking the best and brightest of you out there to try to help us validate our technology, validate our value propositions. We're going to assemble all of the information from this developer challenge and meet with our shareholder to evaluate what might be possible and what is next. Okay,
and the next question. Will the Royal Canadian Mint charge any fees for acquiring the micro SD MintChip or using the hosted service?
And Mark again. Brandon, okay, thank you. Again, like the ecosystem, the business model has not been worked on, hasn't been figured out. In fact, the conferences I've attended recently, where there's a great deal of discussion around mobile, many of the very high-flying players in the eco-space don't agree that the business model for mobile, as an example, is evolving and hasn't been figured out at this point. So that's an unknown at this point.
Okay, the next question, again, dealing with future plans, which we understand are not set. Do you have plans to expand the API? Currently, you can pull a number of transactions. Moving forward, will we be able to use a date range to get data?
Well, hi, Brandon. It's David Everett here. I'll pick that one up. We've really been very interested by the sort of comments we've had from developers, and this is just typical of one. Clearly, we're going to look at all these comments, and we will, I think, look at how we might have improved the APIs and how they might best be moved forward. And we'll get together as a team to do that. So we appreciate your comments, and please send them in.
Okay. The next question, what apps do you think would be winners? I will take this one. We cannot answer that type of question, and the reason that I'm even answering this is I want to provide some color that relates to the rules. So everything about this competition is pretty much in the rules, and that's what governs this competition. And the judges will show up, and they will look at judging criteria, which you see in the rules and on the homepage of the challenge. And they will say, okay, these are the criteria, and they will be using their common sense and expertise with those judging criteria to make their decisions. So really, they know what those words mean the same way that you do. And so we would definitely not be able to suggest which type of apps we think will win or won't, and in fact don't know. It will be up to the judges. So I would just suggest that everybody read the rules, read the key criteria that's on the homepage, and imagine what a judge might decide when they come. But ultimately, I think creativity comes from all the developers just being creative and coming up with ideas that they think are important. If the Mint would like to add anything to that, they're free to, but I'll give you a few seconds.
No, Brandon, I think you covered it. Thank you.
Wonderful. Sure. Next question. Is the MintChip a product that is actually planned to go live for public real-world use? Again, that question has been answered, but it says, if so, will it use the same API, MintChip SD cards, etc.? So while you probably can't answer much about the first part, perhaps there's something about the structure or technology that you could respond to.
Well, it's Mark speaking, and in terms of technology, what might be going forward, again, if you speak to some of the players in the payment space, many of them are saying that that is yet to be determined, and most of them are playing all their bets across all of the fields. So I think things are moving quickly in this space, and I think everyone is probably just trying to measure how things are moving, where they're moving, and what might be the best solution that the consumer will want to use and have choice in using.
Okay. The next question, what are we looking for? We've already answered. It says top 5 ideas maybe. We should point out that there is an ideas challenge that is happening simultaneously where others can submit ideas that they have, and you're free to use them, and you will not be penalized, nor will you be rewarded for picking one of those or ignoring them. They are just an open resource for you to use as you see fit. The next question, what is the typical response time for email support? Well, I could certainly answer that on the challenge post side, and then I'll pass that over to the Mint for any technical support on their side. We try and answer questions the same day, usually almost immediately within an hour or so, unless there's a weekend, but definitely no more than a business day, and I'll pass it over to the Mint for their technical team.
So, we do our best to, Monday to Friday kind of thing. We do our best to answer The questions as soon as they come in. Some days, there's a lot of questions in our inbox, and other days not so many. So, the general rule of thumb is we try to answer everybody's questions within 48 hours, and often it's within a few hours.
Great. And I can say here, again, this is Brandon from Challenge Post. We work with a lot of software competitions, and we are incredibly impressed by the Mint's dedication to this competition all the way up the chain, and they truly and sincerely want to do the right thing and respond to developers in every way. The next question, what if I'm developing a Windows Phone app which isn't ready in the marketplace yet? Does a video suffice? So I have some text here which I will read. After you complete the beta application submission process, your application will go through an automated certification process and will be marked as published in a few hours. However, your testers will not be able to download the app until the download link is live on Windows Phone Marketplace. This can take up to 24 hours from the time you receive the email that confirms that your application has been published. Wait 24 hours before notifying your testers that the app is available to download. So that is from Microsoft.com. Of course, that will be this is being recorded, and you'll be able to hear that in its entirety later. But that's the way it works. And no, a video does not suffice on its own. We're going to absolutely we'll have to be able to test it. That usually gets done if your submission comes in at the end. We can then, after the submission deadline, test those apps. But if they get submitted before then we will be testing them right away. As soon as submissions come in, we test them. Okay, next question. Will it be possible to have direct access to the chip without having to go through an API so that we can program our own drivers to access the chip?
Well, hi, Brandon. It's David here again. In principle, we'd love people to access the chip direct, and as you probably realize, MintChip is actually device agnostic. We could use chip in many different form factors. For the purpose of the developer challenge, we deliberately chose to use a micro SD card. And that gave us one or two licensing problems which stopped us giving people direct access to the chip. But conceptually, we'd like to think people could do that, and it's certainly in our thinking for what may come next.
Next question. Can you give a high-level overview of what happens between the server and web clients when someone uses MintChip in the cloud for a user-to-user transaction?
Again, Brian, I think it's David here. Can I take that one again? I think that's kind of a long question to discuss. I think it's something we should come back with an explanation and perhaps in some drawings, and we can do that afterwards as part of the transcript. Great.
Next question. In fact, I think I'll ask two at once. Isn't $100 the maximum value for any transaction? And the second question is, why was a 500 transaction cap put on the SDK?
Okay, Brian, shall I take them again? It's David here. We set some limits to the developer challenge. Some of them we took against sort of almost risk profiles we might expect in practice, and that's certainly the case in terms of maximum transaction value. The 500 transaction limit, that's set largely by the technology we use, so we have limits on the memory of the devices. And so for the devices we use in the developer challenge, we did have limits, and 500 transactions was the figure we set.
Okay. Next question. How are we going to be provided with UDIDs for ad hoc builds? Email on an as-needed basis, or will this be posted somewhere or some other way? I want to make sure I understand that question because there are a few different ways that UDIDs will be used, but I think the best thing to do is to email on an as-needed basis to support@challengepost.com, and if that doesn't answer the question properly, we'll make sure to update the transcript later. Another question. Will the Mint allow currencies not issued by government, Bitcoins, game credits, to be used with MintChip? And Mark, feel free to give me direction if you want me to sort of put most of these future questions or point people back to your initial answer, or whether you'd like to sort of take each of them as they come.
Brandon, I don't mind taking each of them as they come. There's probably a little different nuance to each one of them, although perhaps the mainline answer is somewhat similar. And I guess, again, this is kind of a future-asking question, a future-looking question. Really, we're not at that stage in terms of determining anything like that. What I think I would share with all of the participants is that when you hear people speaking about payments today, and you're out in the marketplace speaking to the stakeholders and such, the word collaboration, the word partnerships are being used by everybody all around. And hence, I think it's incumbent on anybody who looks in the payment space to be thinking like that and, consistent with open wallets and so forth. People need to be open to almost anything going forward, I believe.
Okay. Next question. Are any CDN chartered banks, CUs, or payment intermediaries such as Visa and MasterCard currently participating in the challenge? I think I can answer that as no, and I can pass, but I may be wrong, and I'll pass that to the Mint.
It's Mark speaking. Again, Brandon, I believe that's the correct answer. There are none.
Okay. Will all applications require some kind of signing or certificate to show they've been verified by the RCM and not have rogue malicious commonly available? Well, part of our testing process will be to verify the integrity of the apps in many different ways. Currently, that's the plan for the competition, and in terms, I am unsure as to whether there is anything different from the Mint aside from the competition or apart from the competition, so I'll pass that on to Mark.
I'm sorry, Brandon, could you refer back
Sure.
to the question again?
I'd be happy to. It says, will all applications require some kind of signing or certificate to show they've been verified by the Mint and don't have rogue or malicious, just to paraphrase, I think malicious code inserted into it? We will be testing that here on the competition side, but, and I would imagine that the answer is that if there is any further promotion or use by the Mint outside of this competition, that the answer to that is TBD from a security standpoint.
Yes, that's correct. Yes, I'm sorry. Yep.
No problem. Will there be an extension to the challenge now that Windows 8 is being released? Also, Windows Phone 8 is coming and allows micro SD, but we can't test that for a few more months as it would permit MintChip perfectly, but again, we can't develop or test for it yet. There's nothing on our side that I'm aware of for the competition, and given that there are 20 days left in the submission period, I don't believe that much will be changing on the competition side for now. Will MintChip compete against the near-field chip debit? And again, the language, there's some additional words, but I think what they want to know is MintChip a competitor to NFC?
David here again, Brandon. At the end of the day, of course, we don't see MintChip competing. MintChip is a kind of an R&D project we've been working on, and we will take advantage of NFC technology quite clearly. But we see everything we're doing collaborative with what other people are doing. So, we hope they're not competing. We will see them as collaborative.
And if I might add, it's Mark, we look at the MintChip product as a cash-like type of product that is digital in nature, something that will offer consumers choice. And we're looking at it as both in the cloud perspective as well as in the physical chip device. And also the types of, we believe it has some attributes that are quite different than any other product out there. If you look at the local versus remote, it works in the P2P environment. There's no personal information that's shared. And if something such as this could be very cost effective, we believe there are nascent, low value, call them nano markets that could be ignited by a cost effective payment product such as that. So it's really a matter of giving consumer choice.
Next question. How do remote Mint chips work? Are they virtual or physical chips on a server?
Hi, Brian. It's Dave here again. What we're actually using for Developer Challenge, we are actually using security modules at the server which are representing virtual Mint chips. But of course it doesn't have to be, and in fact in an implementation it can be done by any form, either physical or virtual.
Okay, next question. Is there anything proprietary about the hardware or software that stopped you from using an open source model, or was it just easier to release closed source while it's still under development?
Same here again. We're obviously trying to make it as open source as possible, but for the purpose of the Developer Challenge, we obviously took as much as we could off the shelf, and in one or two areas we did have some licensing problems, and we just didn't have time to sort them out. So unfortunately, it wasn't as open source as we would have liked.
What is the purpose of a zero value quote unquote value message or value request message? Can it be used to validate a Mint chip's authenticity?
Okay, so there's a couple of questions in there. A zero value message actually isn't allowed by the system, so that doesn't really apply. The value request message is basically a way for a payee to request payment from a payer. This message isn't signed in any way, so there's no promises that this has been tampered or not tampered with. So it's, kind of use at your own discretion.
Do you anticipate similar digital currency from other governments?
It's Mark, Brandon. It's very hard to try to guess what other governments are doing. I think it's fair to say, though, that digital payments are very attractive for countries in the developing world, as an example, where there isn't necessarily the mobile infrastructure or the banking infrastructure to even carry out transactions as we do in developed countries. So I do know there's certainly lots of activity going on and lots of interest with respect to electronic payments in other countries. What governments are going to do about it, that's very hard to say.
And I would just add that a lot of this, I think, depends on the people that are on this webinar and that have signed up in terms of how successful this is. Not to speak for the Mint, but just to say that there's a reason that they put this out to developers, and that your work truly has the ability to become meaningful and to make a difference and to help pioneer this type of technology and to hopefully allow it to spread. So we very much hope that you understand the importance of what you're doing, and again, thank you for that. Next question. I am curious why you chose RSA as your fundamental algorithm in Mint chips. RSA has many limitations, such as it doesn't support batch verifications, so it should not be as very efficient for micropayments.
Hello, Brian. It's Dave here again. I mean, we could have chosen really any suitable cryptographic algorithm, but for the purpose of the Developer Challenge, we wanted to make it easy for people to use. And RSA is one of the most widely used public key algorithms, and we thought that was a good place to start.
Next question. How do you think this digital currency could be used for international transactions?
It's Mark, Brandon. And that, quite frankly, is yet to be determined. I think there are at least a few possibilities. One would be that you would have a different chip or a different cloud account for a different currency. The second option might be that your particular chip or cloud account could be multi-currency into itself. And I think the third way that possibly international transactions could be funded would be to have an intermediary, being a financial institution or a bank, that would carry out the foreign exchange transaction service along while the transaction is being completed.
Next question. Remote Mint chips appear to have limited functionality compared to physical Mint chips. Could you provide some background as to why they are different? Are they intended for different uses?
It's Dave here again. The intention is to try and make the remote MintChip operate as similarly as possible as the physical MintChip. And I think if people see any major differences there, perhaps they let us know the details.
Can you provide an HTML5/CSS3 sample implementation quickly? Well, from a competition standpoint, if there isn't one already, I think we would have to chat with the Mint afterward to see whether or not it's too late to be providing this kind of information given where we are in the submission period. But aside from that determination, I'm happy to pass it over to the Mint in case they have anything else to add.
Hi there, Brendan. So, yeah, it's Greg. I can take this question. So actually, the kind of little-known fact that I spoke to earlier during the presentation, there is a JavaScript sample that is obviously HTML5 compatible. People just don't know where to find it. So actually, in the Windows plugin, if you install the Windows plugin, under the roaming profile, you'll see I can publish this if someone emails it to me, or maybe I'll publish it on the discussion board. But anyway, we do have a sample, a JavaScript sample that works with HTML5, so yes.
And we here at Challenge Post will coordinate with your team as well and see if there's any other place that we could post this on the competition site to make sure that it's given the same visibility. Next question, why can we only view annotations on the last transaction but not previous ones?
Well, Brandon, Steve again. I think that's just an implementation diff. I think in lots of areas we've done things and people have commented on how we might have done it better and things they've missed. And I think these are things we'll take on board and obviously we'll discuss as a team afterwards.
Do you have Windows Phone sample implementation? If yes, what is the download link?
Hi there, Brandon. It's Greg again. So, yeah, no, unfortunately, we don't have a Windows Phone 7 sample, so there is no link.
Okay, the next question dealt with NFC, and I believe that's already been handled in a prior answer. Can demo access be password protected to restrict access to judges only? Let me think about that for a second. I'm unsure about the answer to that. I think what we generally are going to be, so the answer is yes. I just wanted to think through the process on our side. The judges we will be able to give judges information that the public won't be able to use. The answer to that is yes. So if you do need to do it that way for some reason, you can email us that information along with your submission, and we will coordinate that to make sure that happens. Next question. I apologize that took me a little while to answer as well. The next question. Will microSD be the only form factor, or will a smart card be made available as well, parentheses, bank or credit card sized?
It's Mark, Brandon, and really we believe our application is form factor agnostic. So right now we envision this particular system working on almost any kind of form factor, whether it's sitting in a mobile phone, sitting in a cloud. It could be a chip in a USB form factor that would be plugged into a tablet or PC. It could be on a smart card. So it could be all of the above.
Regarding the 500 transaction limit, how will this be reset? If a coffee shop sells several hundred cups a day using MintChip, how would this work practically?
Oh, hi, Brandon. It's David here. We would envisage this would be done by over-the-air connection with the MintChip.
Okay, and I think that answers a follow-up question. How does the Mint plan on achieving mass adoption and avoid having multiple competing systems? Will you be working with other banks and financial players to establish MC as a global standard? I think part of that has already been answered, but I'll pass this to Mark for any additional color.
Yes, thank you, Brendan. And of course, that's looking forward under future development and commercialization. I think I'll only refer back to a comment I made earlier about the whole payments landscape is, I think, going to be built on collaboration and partnerships. And so anybody bringing a product to market going forward would, I think, need to be working with many parties to try to make it successful.
Okay, next question. Could you please make the recording of this webinar available to attendees? I missed a significant portion. Yes, absolutely. So afterward, for those that joined late, we will be posting a recording as well as a translation, and we will also send out an update. So on the challenge post and the MintChip homepage that's powered by Challenge Post. So what you'll need to do if you haven't, and I'm sure you all are, is you'll need to follow the challenge and, quote, accept the challenge. So you hit the Accept This Challenge button, and that enables you to get all updates. So when it's posted, we'll send out an update letting everybody know. Is the ultimate goal to replace all cash transactions and force citizens to get an embedded chip implanted in their bodies to buy and sell? Okay, I should have read that one first. I think we could we could certainly say that the implanting in their bodies is clearly not part of that. But Mark, feel free to reply to the replacing all cash transactions comment.
Yeah, thanks, Brendan. I don't like needles, let alone getting something embedded in my body. But in terms of all cash transactions, I think research, generally speaking, doesn't see cash leaving our particular usage anytime soon. I think today, as consumers, we carry around, most of us carry around debit, credit, and some cash. The way I look forward in terms of payments, generally speaking, is you'll have a digital world, a digital wallet that will have similar type products on the digital side. So I think cash is around for some time yet.
Okay, this is an unrelated question, but I'm going to answer it in case you happen to be hiring. The question is the Mint planning on hiring and growing the MintChip team? Where to apply? I know how tight the job markets can be around hiring developers, et cetera, so I want to give you a chance to mention it in case that is the case.
Well, we're obviously looking. I mean, if all you guys and girls out there were to submit 500 applications, we may need help over the next couple of months to get through the application evaluation process. But right now, we're equipped with, I think, the resources we need at this point in time. Thank you.
Sure. It says, can you show the support email again on the screen? And you can also send an email to support@challengepost.com anytime. Next up, does MintChip support the functionality like initiate transaction and later close/commit transaction to complete the transaction?
Brandon, it's David here, and I think the two roll into each other. And so the following question is about if I, for example, have a phone with MintChip, can I initiate a transaction of, say, $5 and later close the transaction? At the end of the day, for various kind of security reasons, the operation has to be atomic. So if you take the actual value transfer creation within the MintChip, it's an atomic operation, and you wouldn't really want to split it. That doesn't mean to say you couldn't pre-prepare a value transfer message and store it in the phone. So as long as you know where it's going to go, you could pre-prepare the transaction and effectively cache it in the phone and transfer it later.
I'll take the next question, which is, will UI or graphical presentation play a role in the judging process? The answer is yes. One of the judging criteria, which is, again, for everybody in the rules and on the homepage, is implementation of the idea, including user experience and design. Next question. Are there simpler C#/ASP.NET samples available?
Hi, okay, Brandon, I can take that. This is Greg. So I guess the short answer is no. The .NET samples that we have are posted right now. That said, I would encourage David to just email us, mintchipsupport@mint.ca, and just kind of tell me what he's looking for in particular, and I'd be happy to engage the tech team and kind of whip something up for him. So don't be shy.
Next up, if we have made a Windows Phone 7 app that uses MintChip parentheses, which we use using HTML5, CSS, JavaScript, and Silverlight and XAML, are we permitted to make it an open source project? And if we do open it, do we have to somehow confirm and permit only MintChip challengers? So I can answer part of this, which is that there is no restriction for the competition as to whether your submission needs to be open sourced or closed sourced. That is totally your call. And in terms of how that will be judged, it will be judged like the others, where we will need to get access to it if it's a mobile application and isn't available using some commonly used test software or your UDID. And in terms of the public, they will be able to judge for their votes for the popular choice by watching the video. Next question. Is there a way to split a high-value payment into multiple MintChips?
Hi, Brandon. It's David here. No, you can't split it. A value transfer message cannot be split. It can only go to the MintChip to which it's originally designated.
What is the procedure going to be for assigning the other available currency identifiers aside from CAD == 1?
It's David here again. For the purpose of the developer challenge, we wanted to show developers we could handle multiple currencies. And we just basically came up with a way of showing how we could handle a small number with various numbers. When we consider how this might go forward in the future, we'd look at how that should be correctly assigned.
How can MintChip values be verified as, quote, real currency? I.e., how can we be sure the value we are receiving was not created from thin air?
Brandon, it's Dave here again. So if you like, the system is self-verifying. So if you imagine if you have a coin, when you receive a coin, you're looking to see if it's a counterfeit. In the case of MintChip, the MintChip receiver, like the payee, the MintChip itself is able to validate the authenticity of that value, so it knows it's valid.
Okay. Can one own multiple cloud MintChip accounts?
Hi, this is Greg. I can take this question. So the answer is absolutely. We actually give everybody 2 cloud accounts when they were accepted as registrants. And in addition, if people need more, I know some of the iOS folks are doing some pretty cool things and they're asking for additional accounts. As long as the request is reasonable, we're happy to accommodate. So again, just email MintChip support and we'll do our best to help you out with additional accounts.
Another sort of future-focused hypothetical question. When, parentheses, if the MintChip is brought to market, won't it require an act of Parliament similar to the removal of pennies? And won't MintChip be legal tender, same as any coin or bill produced by the Mint or Bank of Canada?
And Brandon, it's Mark. Really, that's, again, something out into the future that we really haven't considered at this time. And so we don't really have an opinion on legal tender or otherwise at this point in time.
Great. 2 more questions. Who was primarily behind the idea of the competition? Was it decided within the Mint or another branch of government or directive?
It's Mark, and we're very pleased to say that it was within the Mint that we sought out yourselves, Brandon, at Challenge Post to help us with this challenge, which was, we believe, a wonderful idea, and we're very anxious to get the submissions later this month.
Great. Last question. In the case of losing a MintChip, is there a way to recover it through you?
Brandon, it's David here. You should look on MintChip just like cash. So if you lose your purse or wallet, you effectively lose the value. And MintChip operates exactly the same way.
And in case that question was that you've lost the kit that was sent to you, send us an email. Wonderful. Well, that's the end of the Q&A section. I'm sorry to say that our time is up. We're happy to continue these conversations if there are further questions, so please feel free to use the discussion board on the launch site, or you can reach us directly by emailing the addresses that you've seen on the screen, which is the MintChip support at mint.ca or support@challengepost.com. And Mark, I believe you have some words?
Yes, thank you, Brandon. And in closing, if you haven't sort of gotten the impression about how excited and happy we are about this particular process, we really are here. We were ecstatic about the reception we got to launching this, and as we get closer to the end, we're looking very forward to receiving all of your applications and looking to create something very new and exciting going forward. And I'm sure you will think of things that haven't even entered our minds, and that was part of the objective of getting you people involved in developing this digital product. So with that, I guess we're closing, and I will thank Brandon and Challenge Post for hosting this particular event, and I'd like to thank everybody who's participated in it. Thanks again.
Thank you, everybody. And as a last reminder, we will be posting a recording and translation of the webinar shortly on the competition website. Thank you, everyone, once again.
Thank you.